I forgot our intro again. Go ahead.
Today is a podcast about what today is.
I'm Joey Nickel,
And I'm Bobby Parker.
and today we have a great subject for you today. Halloween is coming up.
I love Halloween.
Halloween is coming up this year. I believe it's on the 31st of October.
I believe that tracks.
And our topic today is very Halloween themed, and I was very excited to find out this was a topic because it's one of my favorite things.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if I told this to you when you suggested it, but this is a great suggestion. This was a great suggestion, especially for the time of year.
Yep.
It is National Frankenstein Friday.
I love Frankenstein. Not as much as you, apparently. But
I love Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the book, is one of my favorite books of all time.
Okay.
Have you read the book?
I did a long time ago. It was part of an English class in college.
I believe I also read it I don't think I read it. I read it in high school for the first time. I don't remember if it was part of class or not. But I read it in high school, and I loved it. And the way that Mary Shelley writes it. So first of all, I don't know if you remember, but the book is written in two perspectives. So you see the book from the perspective of the monster, as well as from the perspective of Frankenstein, the doctor,
Right.
himself, who created the monster. And I don't know. I just always loved it when I was growing up. It was one of the first classic books that I read. I also read Dracula after that, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Did you ever read that?
I did not read that one.
Bram Stoker's Dracula is good, but I think Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is better.
Okay.
So we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into Frankenstein with you today.
I love it.
I'm gonna take you down a journey of Frankenstein media. But before we do that, did you have any shows this week? How did they go?
Had a show at Veterans United Brewery.
That was on Saturday.
It was on Saturday. It was a fun show. There were not a lot of people there, but it was still enjoyable.
That's good.
It was a small crowd, but they were engaged and had fun. So yeah, it was a fun show. How about you?
I had some good shows this weekend. Friday, I had. What did I do this week? What was Friday? Last Friday was
Barley
Barley and Pie. That's right.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I remember? Barley and Pie went great.
Excellent.
If you're in the Jacksonville area, if you're listening to this in the Jacksonville area, I think we're going to settle on last Friday of every month. We're going to do Barley and Pie. It was a great show. It is very setup intensive for me because I bring the stage for this one because I want it to be good. I bring the stage. I bring a sound system. So, of course, my back hurt afterwards. But the show went really well. The first show we did there, you haven't been, right? You weren't to the first show, were you?
I went to the first.
Oh,
show.
you did go to the
Yeah,
first show.
yeah,
That's right.
Just to watch.
But just to watch. You weren't on the show. Okay, the first show we did there, it was very loud.
Yes.
It was very... we had to wrangle the crowd quite a bit. And the first three comics had a rough time. Like, Patrick was the MC.
Yep.
He's a professional, but he had a rough time getting the crowd. The people who were there to see the show were very respectful and were very good and engaged, but everyone else who was not there to see the show was very loud. And there was a party going on.
Yep.
It was a little rough. And Patrick went up first. He did okay, but it was still very loud. It was hard to wrangle the crowd. Then I had Richard Aragon did a guest set. Again, still struggling with the crowd. J. Paul went up, did better. I feel like she was able to get the crowd. She was doing a longer set, obviously. She did like 20 minutes or so because she was featuring. So she did a longer set and was able to kind of eventually get the crowd that was paying attention on board, and it was okay.
Right.
But then I was closing the show. I was headlining the show. And by the time I went up, all the riffraff had left. So I got real lucky and had a great show then. Like once I got up there and everything calmed down, and then the people who were there to see the show stayed and everyone else left, it was great. Now we tried to hedge this because we started the show start time was 9:00 for this very purpose.
Right.
The manager wanted us to start at 9 so that we would be able to get the riffraff out, and it just took a little longer because there was also a Jaguars game going on, and we didn't at the time we didn't really think of it because it was preseason.
Right. Yep.
But this time, right off the bat, great show. Everybody was very respectful. It was mostly the people up front were all people there to see the show. The show went great. Everybody loved it. I mean, just perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better show at that location.
Nice. Yeah. The first one where I was there to watch, it was something where like, hey, this place has potential.
Yeah.
Just the first show, trying to get the feel of it, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad this is working out. I'm kind of thrilled.
Have you ever run a show before?
No.
I was gonna say I don't think you've ever had to put together. I mean, you've put together a show at the Comedy Zone,
Right.
But that's not like that's not like running a show at a brewery. Everything's all set up at the Comedy Zone. But I will say the most important thing about putting a show together at a place for anybody thinking they can put a show together. My first advice would be don't do it. My first advice:
avoid it.
Avoid putting shows together. Avoid having to be in charge. I would say the number one thing for a successful show is if the people in charge are on board. And the manager of the show, his name's Clay, on board, absolutely on board, and that has helped a lot. Because then, if the person who's ever in charge is on board, then they're going to make sure that that the people are paying attention. They're going to want things to be successful. They're going to want to set it up for you to be successful. And I found that 100% of the time, the successful shows are based on whether or not the person making the decisions is on board.
Yes. Yeah. No, I will say I have had experience running a short film. So I was.
So you've got some managerial experience when it comes to
producing,
entertainment and stuff like that.
Somewhat directing. I let the videographer handle more of that. I've done some charity events where I'm like, oh, okay, here's how the stage needs to be for the show part of it. But it was kind of on the side. I found that I don't want to run shows because I want to focus on being creative, and I will focus on the things that don't matter. So
yes, and I wish I had the freedom to do that. For me, this is my full-time job, so if I don't run shows, I don't make as much money.
Right.
Like if I'm not, I run 3 or 4 shows regularly. I have 2 open mics that I run. If I weren't running those shows, I would not be making the money that I'm making. Yep. I would not be able to have the income because my only income is entertainment. And my wife, my wife makes the money, but I would not be able to have the income I have without it. So it is nice that, I wish I could only had to be creative, but I will say that running shows is a baptism by fire as far as you have to learn quickly how to be a good comic, and you have to. I mean, I have really grinded my craft because of having to run shows, and I when I'm getting it set up, I hate it. Like when I'm getting all it set up, and then I'm booking it, and then there's trouble and stuff like that. But then once I'm on stage, though, I'm like, I did this. I set this up. This is this show. There would not be a comedy show here if I hadn't set up this show. So there is a sense of accomplishment when I do these shows.
Now I want to run a show. So okay, well, I need a sense of accomplishment. I feel like I should build something.
There is definitely that. I definitely feel that when I run a show, when the show goes well.
Actually, I have a good beat on a great room that we can use.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
in the area,
in the area, but it'll have to be a special event, hey, we're gonna record a special kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And I'm thinking.
You're thinking about it?
Yeah, I think it's gonna end up looking real good.
So I recorded my album in Savannah earlier this year, and I wish I had treated it more like a special, only because like I wasn't really concerned with the video portion
Right.
of it. I was really only concerned with the audio because I was recording an album, which is fine. The audio's great. I'm having a hard time editing it because I hate listening to my own voice. But I wish so. Like I wish I would have asked the guy running it to take down the sign so it looked, because it's a theater, but he puts up a sign for the show, which is fine.
Right.
But now that looking back, like I'm kind of wish I would have thought about the video aspect of it more and asked him to take down the sign so that it was generic. I didn't have like a, where it said Savannah Comedy Review, just for the video, just to for that part of it. The show went great. I felt like the recording went well, but now I wish I had kind of treated it more like a special, because now when I show clips of it, because I did video record it, and the idea was I was just going to use it to mine clips from for social media. And now when I show them, it always has the logo in the back, which is fine. But if it doesn't have the logo, then it seems like I recorded a special. I don't know. That just, to me, I wish I thought of that before I did it, before I started the recording.
Well, the good news is you can just edit it out. No, I'm sorry. That was a terrible suggestion. That's
What, like
fixing it.
like
post.
CGI the logo out? Yeah, I don't have that kind of skills.
Yeah.
I never learned. I went to film school, by the way. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I went to film school at BYU, Brigham Young University, and I never learned any digital CGI, anything like that. That's one thing I wish I had learned. I learned a lot of film editing. I learned a lot of that. I learned a lot of. My emphasis was something called new media, which at the time was learning how to upload things to the internet. Like that was like this is how you do it. Like QuickTime was a portion of our lesson, like part of a class and stuff like that. It was like, and now everybody can, like my 14-year-old knows how to do better stuff than what I could do in film school,
Right.
as far as digital media. But that's what it was. It was new media emphasis was trying to get us into the digital media era, which was about to be the main source of entertainment, but we just didn't know that fully yet, or understand exactly what was going to take off.
Right, yeah, and it was a crazy time because it was like right when like YouTube was like
YouTube started right about. I think I was in film school when YouTube started, and it was crazy. Like we didn't realize how big it was going to get. We thought it was going to be stupid videos.
Yeah,
and it is, but
I remember reading an article. I'm almost positive it was Mark Cuban. It was like there's 0% chance that this thing is going to take off because it's just going to be a whole bunch of copyright lawsuits.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. I think I remember.
And
everybody said that when it came out.
Right.
Like, everybody was talking about how it's just going to be copyright lawsuits and stuff like that.
Right. It was just notable because Mark Cuban was a recent billionaire.
Yeah.
Based upon him streaming radio.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, yeah, you're...
Yeah, he made his money on exactly that thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny. You all right?
Yeah.
I heard that on the microphone.
Yeah, my joints dislike having played football and wrestling for so many years.
Yeah, I know that.
So
I know that exactly. I still get knee pops from playing catcher. I still stand up from a squat and both my knees pop.
Yeah.
I still get... No. Sometimes my wrist pops when I just twist it. Ugh, yeah.
I can just go all day.
There you go. Yeah. This is what you get on today's podcast.
Yeah, that's what today is just pain. Just pain.
But yeah, definitely I want to look into that if you've got a cool venue that you're talking about.
I absolutely do. So.
There was something else I was going to say. I don't remember. I want to talk about Halloween for a second. I want to go broad because this will air before Halloween.
Yes, it will.
And the next one will air after Halloween. I think, and this may be a controversial opinion,
okay,
but I think Halloween should be a day Halloween should be a set day holiday. Do you know what I mean?
Set day holiday. Yes, I do. So it should always be like the last Saturday of the month.
Correct.
Or something
I
like
think
that.
it should always be the last Friday or Saturday of October. And I think that because I am sick of going, I'm sick of the kids being out late because we're trick-or-treating, and then they got to go to school the next day. Yep. Like, I'm sick of that. I think it should be a day holiday. It should be a set day holiday.
So here's the thing. Where I grew up, it was.
I had that in Iowa.
Yep.
So in Iowa, they would, and maybe that's a Midwest thing.
It must be, because in Ohio, I grew up in North Canton, Ohio. My neighborhood and the neighborhoods around us all went trick-or-treating on the Saturday or the Sunday. I forget which date it was, the last Saturday or Sunday of October. And then I had a very good friend who lived in the next town over, and his neighborhood was always like the other night. So
you get to double dip.
Yeah,
that's nice.
We'd go hang out with each other. We were best friends, so we got to trick or treat with each other twice. It was fantastic.
So our trick or treat day in Iowa, and this seemed to be statewide. Like I don't think, because they would announce it on the news, like what day it was going to be, and it wasn't always a Friday or it wasn't always a Saturday, but it was always not on Halloween, the trick or treat day. But I think it should be. What's your opinion, Friday or Saturday? I don't think we should do it on Sunday because then Monday's,
right.
Still school. And a lot of people don't want to do that kind of thing on Sunday if they're very religious.
Right.
But I say Friday. And I'll tell you why I say Friday.
Okay.
Because then adults can still have their Halloween party on Saturday. And then it doesn't, and then if you people can, then you don't have to worry about kids going out on the party night.
Right.
You have the trick. You have the trick or treat night. You basically have two Halloween nights. You have the trick or treat night on Friday and the party night on Saturday.
See, I like that. My only issue, and it's going to be an issue
or vice
on
versa,
both days.
No, go ahead.
Is we're still in the high school football season.
That is true. I forgot about that.
So Friday,
I forgot about that.
Is usually high school football.
Okay,
but also Saturday.
Saturday can be too, though.
Yeah. So
I mean, Halloween falls on a Friday or Saturday eventually.
Right.
It will next year. It'll fall on a Friday next year.
Yeah. And so I think Friday because kids can go trick or treating. The older kids usually, when you're in high school, you're not going trick or treating. And if there's some crossover, there's some crossover.
I think, I think Halloween should be a set day, but I actually don't know now. Now I don't know if I want it Friday or Saturday, because now I'm like, well, if we do it Saturday, that's the official day. People probably aren't going to want to have parties after the official day, so let people have their adult parties on Friday. And then do Saturday Halloween? No, because then they're still going to have their adult parties on Saturday. I don't know. I still think it should be a day of, or a set day holiday. And I think they should cancel high school football games the weekend of Halloween. And they should cancel school. And
and
we all get $100.
Yeah,
that's
just no taxes for
and
that
no
day.
taxes
no
for that
taxes
day.
that day.
You don't have to pay taxes on Halloween.
Yeah,
your tax is the candy you give to the public.
Yes.
From your house.
Yes, and I will give out raisins. I will not.
I hope not. You're going to get egged.
I would get egged so hard.
You're going to get egged.
So many people would be against that.
So that is my take. So far, I thought it would be a controversial take, but so far, everybody I've mentioned that to are like, yes, we should do that.
Yeah, my wife, I will say, hates that idea.
Oh, really?
She absolutely hates that idea.
Why?
She is an absolutist. It's always on Halloween, October 31st, and that's the way it goes.
I guess. I mean, maybe. But see, if it were happening this year, it would be like today. Or no, not today. Tomorrow. No, today. It would be today, Friday,
right?
October 26th.
Yep.
Or, no, wait, 25th? Is that the 25th or the 26th?
I don't know.
It would be today, Friday, October 25th, or tomorrow, Saturday, October 27th. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it should be. I think that's my take. Also, are we speaking of things that we should change? Are we still doing daylight savings?
We are,
Daylight
yeah.
saving? Is that still happening this year? I thought we voted on this.
No.
I thought Congress voted on it, and like everybody was on board with getting rid of the time change.
According to my calendar, it's still going to happen. Yeah.
Why? Why are we still doing this?
Because the government wants us to be tired and unhappy.
They still can't get like I remember when they brought it up. This was years ago. They brought it up, and then they had a plan. They're like, okay, we're gonna make the decision now, and it's gonna take like 5 years to implement or something. They had a whole plan for it, and they were gonna do it on this year or whatever. And I remember Ted Cruz being on board and like Joe Biden or something, like somebody or it might have even been it could have even been when Obama was president. Like it was that long ago.
Right.
And I just remember like Obama being on board, Ted Cruz being on board, Marco Rubio was like championing it, like from Florida. And then I haven't heard anything. And they're like, we're doing it. And like, it was like the one, I remember it being a big deal that it was like the one thing that was bringing the parties together was like the hatred of having to change times and waking up groggy. It was like but we're still doing it, huh?
Well, yeah, what most likely happened is some bureaucrat realized that people were getting together and they're like, hey, we can't have that. We can't have this.
People
we have to
agreeing
keep
on
people
stuff.
divided.
Yes.
Let's keep this going.
This upsets me that we have not resolved this.
Yeah.
I think number one, we should get rid of standard time is what it is. Because right now we're in daylight saving.
I don't know which one.
Daylight saving is it's lighter later.
Okay.
And then standard time I don't know why it's labeled those two ways.
Yeah, I know.
But standard time is when it's lighter earlier. So I think we should get rid of standard time or just get rid of calling. I mean, we'll just be time. It won't be.
Yeah, like I don't care which one. Just let's stop changing.
Can we stop?
The clocks.
I want it to be. I don't think it should get dark at 5 o'clock. Is what I'm saying. Like I don't think it should get dark. I don't think it should be completely pitch black at 4:30, like in the wintertime. That's what's going to happen when the time changes? It's going to be pitch black at 4:30. It's going to look like midnight because the days are shorter in the wintertime.
Right. Yep.
The only benefit, because they used to blame it on farmers. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to blame it on farmers, and that didn't make any sense. The farmers were like, it's not us. Like, we get up before the sun comes up anyway.
Yeah, we're going to milk the cows no matter what the clock
It's
says.
going to be dark when we milk the cows no matter what because we get up at like 3 in the morning. So it was like that had nothing to do with it. And then they're like, okay, it saves on electricity. Well, then they did a study, and they're like, it doesn't save on electricity. And then, I don't know, it was really, I don't know. Like, the only benefit I remember is that it is safer in the mornings for kids walking to school.
I really think it was somebody saying, hey, let's see how far we can push people to do stupid stuff and how long they'll go along with it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's been going on for like 100 years or something, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing daylight saving for like forever, which, by the way, is daylight saving with no S.
Yeah, I thought we were doing savings like an account.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. I wish we were saving it into an account and we could use the daylight later.
Yeah.
Have you heard about daylight? Have you heard about this company that is putting mirrors on satellites so that they can illuminate an area of the globe at any time?
No.
Have you heard? It's insane.
No, that's a James Bond plot.
Yes, and it's like, and at some point this has to be regulated by the government because you can't just light up a town. You can't have a corporation with the ability to light up a town or something like that.
I mean,
but they started this project. There's these satellites, and then they put mirrors on them, and then they're solar powered, the motors to bend them, and then you can, you can use they've set it up so that they can use a phone. They can use an app on a phone to do it, and they select an area, and then the mirrors adjust and reflect the sunlight to an area, and then I think it was like it was a lot. Like it was like it was like 10 miles or something like that of
Holy
area.
moly.
It was like a lot of area. Maybe not 10 miles. It could have, even if it's a mile.
Right.
Even if it's 1 mile, that's huge.
Even a quarter mile.
Even a quarter mile is a big area. Now, one great benefit that I agree with was like that'll really help finding people who get lost in the woods or at sea, like somebody who's falls off a cruise ship. You illuminate that area so that they can find them. I think that that's definitely the benefit.
Yeah, sharks need to know where the food is.
Yes,
just light them up and let the sharks come up and eat them.
Have you been on a cruise?
I have. It has been a long time, but
I love cruises.
Oh, they're fantastic.
I love cruises.
My wife has been on one, and we went on a very discount cruise, very choppy weather, bad time of year. She did not like it, so I need to take her on.
You need to take her on a good one.
On a good one, because she was motion sick for part of it and left a just bad feeling. But
the motion sick will get you. That'll really ruin a good cruise.
Yeah, but she's never had like a good cruise.
So I never got motion sick until the last cruise I went on for some reason.
Okay.
I got motion sick, and I got these wristbands to wear, and they worked, and they're ridiculous. I don't understand. Like they put pressure on your pressure points on your wrists, and it worked. I was fine. I was fine when I had those wristbands on, and I would sleep with them on. I just kept them on because when you're trying to sleep when you're motion sick is tough, but like I was fine. I never had any problems when I had those wristbands on.
Yeah, there's something about pressure points.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it's a simple design. It's just like a elastic band. It's just like a sweatband that has a little plastic dot that pushes into. They're tight bands, but it pushes into a pressure point on your wrist.
Yeah, and
then that keeps me from being motion sick. It's crazy. I don't even know. I don't even understand it.
Yeah, I have no idea how most of the stuff in my body works, and the fact that I can just push on something on my wrist.
That's weird.
Slightly feel better.
Weird.
It's cool.
I think the patches. Have you ever used the patch? Do you ever get motion sick?
I have.
My wife always would get motion sick, and so she would put the patch on her ear, but it makes your vision blurry.
I did not know.
That's weird. Speaking of cruises, have you seen? What's the name of the Hotel Transylvania?
Yes.
So Hotel Transylvania, Frankenstein is in Hotel Transylvania. I'm trying to bring it back around. And then in the third movie, they go on a cruise, I think. On the third movie, they go on a cruise. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right.
I actually really like the Hotel Transylvania movies. Have you seen them?
They're great flicks.
I'm actually. Is it a DreamWorks? Are they DreamWorks? Is that who makes those?
I believe so. I know they're not affiliated with.
I don't think they're Disney, right?
No, they're not, and they're currently streaming on Peacock. Because my son and I just watched.
So here's my thing about animated movies: is Disney is the number one. Like if it's not a Disney movie, oftentimes it's not. It's always gonna be not quite good enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I loved the first Despicable Me movie. I liked the second one too. But it was like, then they made like a million of them. That's something, I don't know why DreamWorks does that. They make they figure out one franchise and then they just destroy it. They just beat that into the ground. They did it with Shrek 2. They did like 7 Shreks.
Yep.
When they got one franchise that was popular, they just beat it into the ground. Not that Disney doesn't do that, but it's like with their animated, because they're all like the same kind of computer animated stuff. I feel like Pixar and Disney, they try not to beat a franchise into the ground with subsequent movies, with the exception of Toy Story. Right. But all of them have been good. I love the Toy Story movies.
Toy Story has been fantastic. Yep.
But this brings up a point about Hotel Transylvania, which first of all is good. I like it. I think it's as good as any of the Disney movies, and has a sense of humor to it that we would never see in a Disney movie. Not that it's crude or anything. It's just a little off. It's a little different. It's a little more towards my sense of humor as far as comedy shows.
Right.
Adam Sandler is in it. The whole Adam Sandler crew is in it as voice actors. Andy Samberg is in it. He's great. Who's the girl? Oh, it's I just forgot her name. She's a singer. Dang, I can't
forget.
remember her
I'm going through the roster of all the comedians, and I can't think of.
It's a good movie, and it's full of comedians. It's got like 4 stand-up comics in it, which is crazy but it's a good animated film. Man, what's her name?
I'll know in a moment.
She's been in tons of stuff. But the Frankenstein in that. Okay. Here, are you just looking up the cast?
I am.
Right. Wait.
It is
I want to say
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Yep.
Selena Gomez. She's great in this. Her voice acting is great in this. And she's good. She's a good actress. I like her in just about everything she's in. Have you seen Only Murders in the Building?
No,
That is a good show.
I've
Only
heard
Murders in the Building is a good show.
heard great things about it. I think I've seen part of the first episode.
It's great, and Steve Martin and Martin Short are not. They don't. Okay, a lot of times you see a movie with a young person like Selena Gomez, and then old people are in it, and you can tell they're trying to recapture some sort of fame, right? There has-beens that are trying to recapture, but this does not have that feel to it at all. Okay. It's very endearing. Their relationship is very endearing. They have a very they have a very paternal relationship with her in the show. It's a very like grandfather or father kind of feel. It's great. Their chemistry is great in it. They became in real life became friends. They went to her wedding, all that kind of stuff. Like it's a good show, and they do well together in it. Steve Martin's amazing, obviously, and so is Martin Short. Yes. Two powerhouse comedic actors.
2 of my favorites from one of my all-time favorite movies, Three Amigos.
Yeah, Three Amigos, great. Which, by the way, I finally had my kids watch Three Amigos, and they didn't want to watch it when we started it. Like they were like, I don't want to watch it. They wanted to watch something else, a superhero movie or whatever. And I was like, no, trust me, you'll like this. They loved it. Like they were like, this is our favorite movie. They loved Three Amigos.
It's just one.
It's so good. Three Amigos is so good. Frankenstein. So here's something I want to bring up about Frankenstein. This also may be a controversial opinion.
Okay.
Or it's not so much an opinion, but this is how I think the facts lie. When I say Frankenstein, what do you think of? Just what's the image you think of?
I think of the giant green guy with the
bolts in his head. You think of the monster.
The monster.
So if somebody dresses up as that monster, you're going to say he is dressing up as Frankenstein, right?
Right.
But there's going to be some jerk, some terrible person, I can't think of other things to insult this person, this troglodyte. No, that's the opposite.
No.
This
fanboy almost.
They're not even fanboys. That's the thing. They don't care about the source material. They just want to correct you and say, actually, that's Frankenstein's monster. That's not Frankenstein, which is a load of crap because Frankenstein is Dr. Frankenstein's son. So his last name would also be Frankenstein. So they are both Frankenstein. You can say that's Frankenstein, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Which, when it comes down to it, who was the monster anyway?
The man who created
life. The man who created life in defiance of nature, right?
Yep.
So stop saying, actually, that's Frankenstein's monster. It's Frankenstein. You can call it Frankenstein. Which, by the way, that aside, let's say they are correct of the source material, and it's like the source material was very clear that the monster's name is not Frankenstein, which is not true. That's not part of the source material. Right. But like, let's say that's true. Let's say the source material says this monster's name is Carl or whatever. Then we have already, through pop culture, have transitioned into a world where we call that monster Frankenstein. In pop culture, he is Frankenstein. We refer to him as Frankenstein. So correcting somebody is already you're already doing something that's unnecessary.
Right.
Like that's why I bring up Hotel Transylvania, because in Hotel Transylvania, Frankenstein is a character. He's the Frankenstein's monster, played by
Kevin James.
Played by Kevin James. So we have already established that in pop culture, Frankenstein is the monster. When we were talking about Frankenstein, we were talking about the monster. So, but I do feel like there are the pop culture of Frankenstein, which, by the way, the everything that there's a family of Frankenstein
Right.
in Hotel Transylvania. Like they're people. They have wives and children, and then there's cousins and other relatives in the Frankenstein family. It's a species of monster in in Hotel Transylvania, which would be evident by the fact that Frankenstein in that movie is not trying to kill people, and there's no Dr. Frankenstein to mention. So I feel like we have transitioned into pop culture where Frankenstein is a species of monster, like a werewolf.
Okay.
So to then say actually it's Frankenstein's monster, you're wrong now. When you say that, you're actually wrong. You're incorrect. You're the one that's incorrect.
So my big Frankenstein question then is if we've transitioned to where Frankenstein is a species of monster, how is this species different than a zombie?
That is a good question. So I would say that it is. I would say that a zombie. So if we are differentiating, which we don't have to,
Right.
maybe he is a zombie. Maybe by definition he is categorized as a zombie, as a type of zombie. So maybe he is. Maybe you could say zombies are like a cousin to Frankenstein. But I would say the difference between him and a zombie is zombies were people that died
Okay.
and were brought back to life by mystic means, by viral means.
Okay.
And I feel like Frankenstein. Now, if we're saying he's a species of monster,
Right.
then we don't know the origins of that species. So that would be that. I don't know if we have enough information to say, but I would say at least in functionality, he's smarter than a zombie.
Right.
He can talk. He's not trying to eat people. Like he just that would be as a differential. He doesn't act like a zombie.
So it seems like awareness and dietary needs.
Yes.
So awareness
And dietary needs.
He's
Yeah.
self-aware, or at least has the ability to become self-aware later on in the book. Like he doesn't start off necessarily.
Now, I would say,
I
so
don't
let's say that
remember.
if we're talking about him as a species,
Yeah.
then that. Let's say in the source material, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, would you categorize him as a zombie in the source material, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein?
I would not.
Because he's not a species. He is dead bodies.
Right.
He's an amalgamation of dead bodies put together to and then brought to life.
Right. I say no, and the reason why I think there's a distinct separation between Frankensteins and yes, I used the plural, and zombies is it appears that Frankensteins, having been brought back to life, have the capacity to not only have rational thought, but also have the capacity to physically heal. Where zombies do not.
Oh, yes, that is correct. You're right. I think you're right. Zombies, first of all, are probably continue to decay, not just don't have the ability to heal,
Right.
but they continue to decay. So I think you're right. I think Frankenstein in the book, Frankenstein's monster in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I would say that is just a person who is monstrous. That is a human being who is monstrous. And I guess you could argue that a zombie is a type of human being. But you know what though? At the time, let's go back to the source material, because Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I don't remember it was written in the 1800s, I think.
That sounds right.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, at the time, zombies may or may not have been a thing, but early zombie stories were mystic. Early zombie stories had some sort of like early zombie stories. It was corpses being brought out of the grave, like
Right.
they were magic. Early zombie stories. There was no like virus or science to it. It was just magic, basically, and people were coming out of the grave as zombies. And so if we're looking at that, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is far and away different than a zombie already because it's not mystic. It is science, and it's not viral. It's just like electricity, basically.
Right.
That's how he does it. So right off the bat, the source material, it's not a zombie. He's not a zombie.
Right. Yep. 1818, by the way.
1818. Okay.
1818, yep.
So yes, 1800s. I don't know when zombies started, but actually I think it was after that. I think zombies are like 1920s, I want to say.
Yeah, zombies didn't really hit pop culture until, you're right.
Until this century, or until the last century.
Right.
Like, yeah, I think so. It was 1920. So this predates zombies.
Right.
But I definitely think that's different than a zombie for sure. Now here's the other thing. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I love it. It's a good book. It is dark. It is a very dark book. The monster is very brutal in the book. It's kind of funny how it's become this like cartoonish character that's like has murder in his heart. It's like it's pretty crazy that it's become what it is. It's evolved into Kevin James voicing him.
Yeah, well, it's just a giant human slab of meat that just doesn't have the capacity to really understand right or wrong, but has all the physical attributes of a man. And
so the thing that I really liked about the book was because you do get the two perspectives, and you get the madness of Dr. Frankenstein, as he's developing his method, and then he puts it together, and then it all comes together, and then the monster, he doesn't consider the fact that the monster is going to be mindless. He doesn't consider that. So the monster almost kills him, but kind of by accident. Like the monster's just super strong and big, and he made the monster strong on purpose. He wanted him to be like the perfect human. That was the point.
Right.
He wanted to put together a human that wouldn't have flaws, basically, except for the stitches, I guess. It's like, this is our flawless human. I know he looks like a quilt, but
he'll wear clothes.
yeah. But so he didn't anticipate that, and he in the book he escapes the monster and leaves him in the lab. And basically goes insane, the doctor, and kind of not forgets about the monster, but just like moves on with his life, which I always felt was weird. It's like he never went back to like check on him. I think he may have, and he wasn't there anymore, and he just kind of forgot, like just kind of dismissed the monster. Then that's really their only interaction, from at the time of creation, is that brief interaction, and then Frankenstein, he's at this point a creature of need, like a creature of instinct. Like he's an animal at this point. He just needs. He knows he needs to eat. He knows he needs to survive. He has a survival instinct, but he eventually learns how to talk. He learns how to think. He learns how to read and write. That's a whole thing.
Right. Yep.
I don't know where the flat head came from, because that's not in the book.
No. I think it was just one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm doing monster makeup. How can I make somebody look mean? Or
which, by the way, Universal still like that. Owns. I guess I'm sure it's in public domain at this point, but Frankenstein is a Universal monster. There's Frankenstein,
werewolf,
mummy. Creature of the Black Lagoon. Is it just 4? Yeah. Invisible Man, 5. Invisible Man, which are all based on Dracula.
Yeah.
So 6. Are there 6 Universal monsters?
That seems right.
Which are all based on classic literature. If you're going to be out here, you got to be quiet, bud. Okay. Which are all based on classic literature. And so Universal owns that image of what we see as Frankenstein.
Right.
That's why that's why they could do Hotel Transylvania. That's why DreamWorks did Hotel Transylvania. They're owned by Universal.
Right.
So they were able to have all those characters in it. And they've gotten a lot of mileage out of those characters over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I the one thing that stands out to me, like I don't remember the story as much as the controversy around the book. Because the book itself was very controversial.
It was, yeah.
Because it was basically Mary Shelley saying, hey, the scariest thing is man assuming the role of God, being able to create life.
Yes, and the consequences of that. Yeah. I don't know if you remember the end. It is a brutal end. Like
isn't the monster like in
so
like
the monster,
North Pole, or?
it ends in the North Pole. Actually, it begins in the North Pole.
Okay.
So it starts in the North Pole, and the Dr. Frankenstein is writing his diary, like his last words. That's how it starts, is in the North Pole.
Okay.
And he's like, here's what happened, and then at some point transitions into the monster's perspective, and we get what happened. It's like, meanwhile, this is what the monster was doing, and he grows and kind of he figures out how to talk. He figures out how to think. He figures out his dad is Frankenstein, and he regards him as his father. And he goes to him, and he's like, and his father rejects him. He's like, "You're a monster. I never meant to make you." And he's like, "I will destroy you. I can't believe you won't accept me. I will destroy you. No one will accept me. Everybody thinks I'm a monster. Make me a companion." That's what he says. He's like, "Make me a wife. Do the same thing you did with me. Just make a woman for me, and we'll live out our lives in the woods or whatever together, this woman and me." And he agrees to it. He makes the wife, and then before he brings her to life, decides against it. He's like, "I can't bring another monster into this world," and destroys the corpse. And that's it for the monster. He then has decided he's going to ruin Dr. Frankenstein's life, and basically murders everybody in his life. Murders his wife, murders his father, murders his father-in-law, murders his entire family. And then Dr. Frankenstein, is on the run from this monster, and basically that's how he gets to the North Pole. It's like he leaves on an expedition to try to escape the monster, and escape like consequences too, because his entire family was murdered. Right. So the police are like after this, like, how did this happen?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And he's escaping consequences, and that's where the story kind of ends. But it's pretty rough. Like, and I read it when I was probably too young to read it at the time, but I was maybe 16 when I read it. But it's a pretty rough story. So it is funny that it's become this like campy, cartoon.
Like and like it is truly a campy thing. Like every like almost every sitcom that is silly, every movie franchise has some kind of reference to Frankenstein.
It's so part of the zeitgeist that yes, everyone knows who Frankenstein is. Like everyone in America, at least. I don't know how it is. Probably in most of the world, though. Knows who Frankenstein is.
Western culture.
In Western culture, yeah. Now, I want to talk about some media that is based on Frankenstein. We already talked about Hotel Transylvania, which is the pinnacle of the Frankenstein media franchise.
100%.
I want to talk about, there's a couple movies. So they made a movie back in the Universal Monsters. The first one they did was an old black and white. It's a good movie. Have you seen it?
Long time ago.
It's very good. That's who invented the flat head, though. That's who invented the image of Frankenstein. Now, here's the other thing. It was black and white, so we don't even know he's green, right?
Yeah.
We like in the movie, he's not green because he's black and white. But in the book, the skin is described as green and the eyes as yellow.
I did not know that.
And that's really the only thing we get out of it. I don't even know if the book described him with bolts in the neck, or if that was something the movie added because of the electricity. Like,
I assume that's something
I think the movie added that.
Because I know that in the book they didn't describe the details of how electricity was used.
Yeah, he was definitely stitched together, and he definitely had yellow eyes because he would always talk those yellow eyes. They like haunted him, the yellow eyes, and then his skin was a greenish color, I think. So we have that description, and then they added the flat head and the bolts, and he was big and strong. He was
Right.
supposed to be big and strong. So we have that. That's our first adaptation. Is the early Universal Monsters, black and white.
All right.
Then we have, and in that movie he befriends a blind man because he can't see that he's a monster.
Right. Yep.
Which is not in the book. I don't remember if that's in the book or not.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't remember. But so that is a good one. I would say that's a good one to watch. It's not like it's not going to win you over if you to be a Frankenstein fan necessarily.
Right.
But it's kind of a classic one. But two of my favorite, two very good versions of them in modern culture. There's one where the monster is played by Randy Quaid. And it was a TV movie. Now, here's the thing that I've seen at least 2 Frankenstein adaptations in the modern era. And both times they changed the method of how he made Frankenstein. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to do this. But both times they changed the method. Because in the book, it's just electricity.
Electricity. Yeah.
Which maybe that's too simple. Maybe they're like, that's too unbelievable that it would just be electricity.
Right.
I take it back. There's 3 movies I'm going to talk about, not just 2. But the third one, you'll see why I'm reserving that.
Sure.
So in those 2 movies, one of them is like this liquid he creates or something that is like he clones himself, basically. He doesn't use dead bodies. He like clones himself.
Okay.
And then I don't remember which one that is. And then Randy Quaid plays Frankenstein's monster. And it is weird that Randy Quaid is playing him, but it is a good movie. I like it. And they're very true to the source material. It begins and ends in the North Pole, like all of that. Like they go through all of that.
I'm going to have to watch that because Randy Quaid
It's a TV movie, I think.
Randy Quaid is a wild card for me.
Yeah, Randy Quaid. I mean, in the movie Frankenstein, if you're like, Randy Quaid is going to be in the movie Frankenstein, you would assume he's the monster. Because it's like, who else is he going to play in that movie? He doesn't have like, he's not like a leading man actor or that kind of thing. He's more of a quirky guy. And he's obviously a very comedic actor too, but
maybe an Igor. But
yeah, right, exactly. You might say he's an Igor, which, by the way, Igor's not in the book.
That I remember.
Igor is something they added in, I think, in that early movie was when they added Igor. So that became part of the zeitgeist, though. Igor and Frankenstein. But Igor's not in the book. But I'm trying to remember if Igor's in either of those movies. I don't remember. But I remember watching that after reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and really liking it. I liked it a lot. Maybe it doesn't hold up. I might want to watch it now. But it's a TV movie. And the way they did TV movies back then is they could do a TV movie that was long because they could air it in more than one part, or they could, it's like they didn't have the same constraints for adaptation that a theatrical movie was, because they had to worry about people wanting to go to the theater. But if you do a TV movie, a lot of times you could get a TV movie that was long, or they'd air it as a miniseries or something like that.
Yes.
So it was long. They did a lot of the story. They did a lot more than you would expect the story to be. I just remember really liking it. I don't know if it holds up. I'd have to watch it now to see if it holds up. Adaptation number 2 I want to talk about is the monster. Oh, Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh plays Frankenstein the doctor, and is great, like perfect. Like that's a perfect casting.
Yep.
And I think he directed the movie too.
I think
he directed the movie. Yeah. It's very good. Again, they really changed the way he does it. It's like this another like it's like they use electricity, but it's not the same way. It's much more. They complicate it a lot, but it's very good. The monster is played by Robert De Niro.
Yes, this is the one that I definitely have seen.
Yes, and I've seen this, and my wife was a fan of Frankenstein too. I don't know how we both ended up. As one thing when we were dating that we bonded over, that we both were fans of the book Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Nice. And
we watched that movie together, and it is good. I like it a lot. Yep. It's very well made. It's very intense. They treat the source material very well. There's not any camp in it at all. It is the brutal scenes are pretty brutal, but it is funny to think that Robert De Niro
is a giant man.
Is the monster. Yeah. First of all, Robert De Niro's like 5'8". I don't know. Like
he's 5'8" wearing platforms.
Yeah, like he is not tall. Like Robert De Niro's not a tall dude. He's not a big dude. And so to think of him as Frankenstein's monster, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty wild that Kenneth Branagh was like, yeah, let's get Vito Corleone from Godfather 2. He's Frankenstein's monster now. Like that's pretty crazy.
The guy who always looks like he's in pain. Though.
Yeah. But he's a good actor.
He's a fantastic
and he did
actor.
well. He did really well in this.
The scene I very specifically remember is him living in a pigsty and befriending a little girl.
Yes. Now that was in the book.
Yep.
And that was a big scene in the movie, in the first movie, in that like original movie. Yep. That was in the book. Yeah, I remember that too. But he was intense, Robert De Niro. And now that I think about that, that might be the only, like, how often has he done combat in a movie? Like,
outside of shooting a gun.
Yeah, like I don't know that he's been in a lot of fight scenes in his career besides this movie.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Maybe like kicking somebody in like a mob movie, but that's
but
different.
not like this. Yeah, not like this. Yeah, that's interesting. But I loved it. I liked the movie. They went with a different look. They went with a bald Frankenstein.
Yep.
And you could still do all the stitches and everything. But
I don't remember De Niro having a green pallor. He might have, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't remember his. Yeah, he looked kind of just like a human that was stitched together.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that it's a good movie. I like it a lot. Now the third Frankenstein movie, and I'm not going in order of when they got released, but the third Frankenstein movie that I want to talk about is. Oh, by the way, those might not have been Universal movies.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't. Both of those, the Randy Quaid and the Robert De Niro one, neither one of them had flat heads in it, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
Because that's a Universal owned. That image was owned by Universal at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And those might not have been Universal produced movies, because Frankenstein is in the public domain. I mean, 1818.
Right.
That's forever ago. But third movie I want to talk about.
Number 3.
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein is not I would say it's not an adaptation. It's a sequel. So it's not an adaptation of the original source material. So I don't put it in the same category as the Robert De Niro Frankenstein and the Randy Quaid Frankenstein, but it belongs in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Because it does regard itself as canon. Like it is Frankenstein's son, and Igor is in it again, and it's like it is a sequel to the original movie from the 20s or 30s.
The one son that survived the onslaught.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the one son that survived the murder of his entire family, and he and they filmed it in black and white, even though it was probably the 70s when they.
It was definitely the 70s
when they made it. It wasn't the 80s, was it?
No,
it was the 70s.
100%
the 70s. So it was the 70s, and they, it's what's his name? Gene Wilder obviously is Frankenstein, but it was Mel Brooks. It was a Mel Brooks movie, which is great. I love it. It's like it's really good. I know it's not very good with the source material as far as like being accurate with the source material, because obviously it's a sequel. And it's a comedy. And Frankenstein's monster is played by
Peter Boyle.
Yeah, Peter Boyle, which he's great.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He's really good, and I like he does it really well. The dance scene, like all of that, it's all really good.
Yes,
it belongs in the conversation of great Frankenstein films.
Absolutely, 100.
Even though it's a comedy, it's a comedy, but it regards the source material very well.
Yes. And here's the thing, like even though it is a sequel, it's the son of, and although it's a comedy, I have no problem putting it there because the source material is dark, but you know what? It's still funny.
Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah.
And honestly, the fact that the source material is so dark makes it funnier that they made a comedy out of this.
Yes. Yeah.
And honestly, that I'm trying to think. That may be the first time we see Frankenstein in a light heart. Do you know what I mean? Was Frankenstein a part of pop culture yet in a way that we could make fun of him and be silly?
I think it would have had to have been because of cartoons in the 60s and 70s.
Were cartoons depicting Frankenstein?
Like Scooby-Doo?
Oh, yeah, but
like
Scooby-Doo, that might be post Young Frankenstein, though. No, you know what? You're right, because Universal Monsters... Okay, yes, Young Frankenstein is not the beginning of comedy for Frankenstein, because Universal Monsters, their whole thing was when they would make a good franchise and they would have them meet one of the Universal Monsters.
Right.
Like it was, who was it, Laurel and Hardy?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, they did like the meet the they met Frankenstein and that and stuff.
So yeah.
So yeah, we've already got levity introduced into the Frankenstein universe.
But Young Frankenstein is probably the peak of Frankenstein humor.
That is the peak of Frankenstein, and that had to have been a Universal movie because they were using stuff from the original movie, like Igor,
right,
and stuff like that. Yes, yeah, that was. It's good though. That's the peak of Frankenstein humor, is that movie,
and it might be the peak of American humor too.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's a
very
hilarious
good.
movie. Yeah.
All right, now one thing I want to bring up. We're gonna go away from humor a little bit. There is a TV show that was filmed in England called The Frankenstein Chronicles.
I've never heard of this.
It is very good.
Okay.
Sean Bean is in it.
Okay.
He's very good in it. He's the main character. He plays an inspector who's like investigating disappearances and some fun, crazy things that are happening. Mary Shelley is a character in the show. And it's basically, what if Mary Shelley wrote the book based on real scientific stuff? Like, what if the thing she wrote was based on real scientific things happening in the medical community at the time? And
that is crazy.
He basically is trying to uncover like this big conspiracy of these people doing stuff like this, trying to reanimate dead people and stuff like that with electricity. It's a whole thing. It's really good. I liked it a lot.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've never heard of that, and it sounds like something that I would enjoy watching.
I would recommend it to anybody who's a fan of Frankenstein and a fan of Mary Shelley. It's not like, I mean, I guess it's technically based on the book Frankenstein, but it's more historical fiction about the time period and about Mary Shelley. But it's good. I like it a lot. It's a good show.
I like that. Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think my favorite Frankenstein adaptation is the Robert De Niro Frankenstein adaptation.
All right. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say Weird Science for me.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah,
which
that's a Frankenstein adaptation. Huh?
Yeah, it's that I probably saw that too young as a child as well. But yeah.
I forgot that was a. There's a movie just came out recently. That's a same thing. It's a Frankenstein adaptation with a girl. It won like award. What's it called? Poor Things.
Yes.
Poor Things. I haven't seen it, but it is the Frankenstein. It's the Frankenstein concept.
Yes.
Done in a young woman who's brought back to life in a different era, and then it's a fish out of water, kind of thing. It's humorous.
Right.
I haven't seen it, but it won a bunch of awards, so it's probably good.
Yeah, that's another thing that sounds awesome that I will probably never watch.
Yeah.
I'll say something like, it sounds cool. I'd like to watch it. Probably won't.
But yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to watch Frankenstein Chronicles, it's good. But I would say my favorite is the Robert De Niro version with Kenneth Branagh as the doctor.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
Yeah,
I knew
I liked it a lot.
I knew what week we were doing, but I did zero prep
Me
because
too.
I know you wanted to talk about Frankenstein.
Yeah, I think I did all the prep leading up to this in my life. So I think we're okay as far as that. As far as content, as far as Frankenstein content. All right, since Halloween's coming up, favorite. Okay, let's go top 5
Top 5.
Halloween candies.
Ooh, top 5.
Top 5 Halloween candies according to Bobby Parker.
This is a contentious one. I will probably go with Baby Ruth number 1.
Number 1, Baby
number
Ruth.
1, Baby Ruth.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of
I am a
chocolate
big fan, too.
and peanuts.
Yeah.
So those top. Snickers, close second, but they're more common.
Remember,
So
what about how Payday added chocolate? And it's like, isn't that already a Baby Ruth? Like, don't we already have a better version of that?
basically,
Why did Payday start doing that?
just to compete.
I like Payday.
Yeah.
And I like the salty. I like the sweet. I like and it is a little different. Like, the inside's not all caramel. Like, there's some nougat in there, I think, with Payday. Something like that. It's not just caramel.
It's something.
It's something. But they added chocolate. They did a chocolate Payday a few years back, and it's like, they only already have Baby Ruth. That's the best already.
Right.
For what that is. Chocolate caramel and peanuts.
Yep. So
number 1, Baby Ruth.
number 1, Baby Ruth. Snickers. Snickers.
You big on peanuts?
I'm big on peanuts, and Snickers would be number 1, but they're so much more common.
That is true.
So Baby Ruth, I just associate like, oh, I get that around Halloween. I don't really get them any other time.
Yeah.
And then it's a toss up of other, like the what is it, the little hazelnut ball things, Froche.
Alexa, stop. Repeat that line. The little hazelnut what?
The little hazelnut things, like the Froche, the little.
Oh,
ball.
you like those?
Yeah, I love those things.
I do too, but I don't know if I put them
in.
in my top 5.
I would, because I don't like most of the chewy candy, like the fruit, the Twizzler kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of.
I will tell you so Baby Ruth, Snickers, and then what did you say?
Those little
Hazelnut ball things.
And
Okay,
then,
what about the others?
Any like kind of candy bar, like except for Almond Joy or Mounds, those are terrible.
Oh, you really? You don't like those? You don't like the coconut?
I'm not a
coconut
fan of the texture of coconut.
So, Baby Ruth is definitely up there for me too. Baby Ruth is a great one. I would say though Reese's. I got to put Reese's up there. Reese's cups.
Reese's is great, yeah.
And for some reason, the Reese's holiday versions are better than the regular Reese's cups. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a freshness thing, like they're fresher than a regular pack of Reese's cups. But you get the pumpkin-shaped ones, you get the Christmas tree-shaped ones, you get the egg-shaped ones, all better than a normal Reese's cup. Yeah, right?
Yeah, they're really good. I
don't know what they do differently about them that makes them so much better to me. They're creamier? Daniel says they're creamier.
I think it's actually a different chocolate to peanut ratio.
Maybe.
Because they're going a different shape, so there's more peanut butter, making it creamier.
That definitely goes in my top, though. The Reese's, great for me. Baby Ruth definitely goes up there. I like 100 Grand a lot.
100 Grand's good.
100 Grand's great. Just about anything with caramel in it's going to be good, in my opinion.
One of the probably least respected out there, but one of my all-time favorites, Mr. Goodbar.
Mr. Goodbar is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say for me, top 3, Baby Ruth is going to be up there for me. Reese's, Baby Ruth, and maybe I'm trying to think of something fruity that I like. I do really like Sour Patch Kids.
No.
Yeah, I like the little packs of Sour Patch Kids. You don't like those?
Nope. I'm not a fan of those at all.
Those might go in the top 5 for me. Sour Patch Kids. But definitely Baby Ruth. Definitely Payday too. Anything with you're right. Anything with peanuts is good.
Yeah.
I'll take anything with peanuts in the form of a Halloween candy.
Yeah, like I would be the guy that would take a box of Raisinets over like a thing of like Starburst.
See, I like Starburst, but
Nah.
yeah, you're more of a chocolatey, savory kind of guy.
Yeah, that's more me, and I'm doing my best not to eat most of these things anyway. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this Halloween goes. My boys got to bring in a good loot so that I can siphon off their candy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send my kid to the rich neighborhood get the full size bars.
Right, exactly. Their grandparents give out full size bars. Her parents, my wife's parents, yeah, they give out the full size. They get Snickers. Milky Way's good.
Milky Way.
I like Milky Way. What do you think of Three Musketeers? It's too much.
It lacks
nougat. It's missing an ingredient. It's Milky Way without the caramel.
Right,
is what it is, and it's too much of that. It's like the caramel cuts the nougat, so it helps with texturally as well as flavor wise. Definitely gonna pick Milky Way night and day over Three Musketeers.
Yeah, three Musketeers, and there's like 2 ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. It's just chocolate and fluffy nougat.
Yeah.
What do you think about? You remember whatchamacallit?
I do.
It had it didn't have like a wafery aspect to it. I can't remember.
Yes, and there's also another one, Chunky. Do you remember Chunkies?
Oh yeah.
They're like
do they still exist?
Yes, probably
I don't know if I've ever seen them.
Cracker Barrel.
Oh.
Always has like the weird.
Yes,
candy
Cracker
section.
Barrel does. I love their candy section. They're always interesting candies.
It's like a square silver thing.
Yeah.
And
those are good. Yeah, those are good.
It's full of like raisins and peanuts and chocolate and something.
It was
else
just
probably.
like a thrown together. Yeah. My favorite Reese's though, as far as we're talking like Reese's peanut butter cup type of thing.
Right.
Well, by the way, Reese's. What's the one that's a candy bar? Fast Breaks.
Fast Breaks.
Fast Breaks are great.
Yep.
Take Fives are great. Yep. They have pretzel in them.
Yeah, a little salty.
Those are all good. All of the Reese's products are good, in my opinion. However, my favorite version of Reese's peanut butter is the candy bar that is in squares. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a candy. It's like this big. It's a large candy bar, and then it's in breakable sections.
I don't think I've had that.
In my opinion, the best chocolate to peanut butter ratio of all the Reese's.
Okay.
And the chocolate's a little bit firmer because it's more of a candy bar, so you can break it off and then eat it. It's great. In my opinion, the best Reese's is that giant candy bar.
So the giant chocolate bar that I'm most aware of is the Symphony bar.
Symphony's good. Yeah, Symphony's good.
And it has a special place in my heart because my wife will buy like a big one of those.
Yeah.
And then have a little piece when she gets very stressed.
Yeah.
So I can
one
judge
you eat
how,
for a while.
how stressed she is based upon where we are at in the symphony.
So it's like, how stressed are you? Are we talking like 3/4 of a symphony bar stressed or half a symphony bar stressed? It's that's the barometer.
Or like the beginning of the evening, I measure where it's at. The end of the evening, I see where it's at. I'm like, oh, okay, it's the same.
Yeah.
Less stress.
So we go, I like that idea of like, let's check in on Bobby's wife's stress level. It's like, how big's the candy bar today, Bobby? And it's you pull it out like that's a segment now.
Yes.
It's like, my wife is this much stressed. She has eaten half of the symphony bar.
And I show up
in one day. yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. I've got a show to get to. Where are you going to be this weekend?
I will be at the Cereal Box.
Where's that?
That is a new place, the Cereal Box. It's a new place downtown. J. Paul has got some shows going on there. I'm sure.
What day?
That's on Friday. Yeah.
Friday's the Cereal Box. All right. Yeah. I'll have to check. I mean, I won't actually check it out.
Right.
Because I have other shows, but I'll have to stuff.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm sure. I'm sure you'll
talk all of a sudden. Sometime I'll probably do it if it continues. Is this the first one?
It's the second one, but one was rescheduled several times because of a hurricane.
Well, that sounds great. I'm glad that there's a new show out there.
Yeah.
I am doing Friday. I'm doing Shroglow in Brunswick. Have you done that one yet?
I've not. No.
I'll have to get you connected with the guy who books that. It's a good show. It's a bit of a drive, but it's a good show. Brunswick, Shroglow, and then after that, I've got Disco Witch at Yulee.
Very nice.
And J. Paul's on that show, so maybe I'll talk to her about Zero Box.
Yeah.
When she comes up there. All right, thank you guys so much. This has been Today Is with Bobby and Joey, and today is Frankenstein Friday. Thank you very much.
See ya.